another thing that you mentioned that I took a note of when I listened to your conversation with Rick, I think, and when you spoke about, because again, so many conversations about awakening sort of focus on the sort of perceptual shifts, let's put it this way, and not so much on that being an actual kind of physical process where, at least in my experience, the body was quite literally like at the center of it, like it almost like a gateway in many
Mm,
ways, to actually awakening,
mm-hmm.
you know. And so I wrote that you talked about identity falling apart as a physical process. Can you talk a little bit about what this means, what that looks like for you, including like when you talk about energetic changes or awakening on a kind of energetic level? What do you mean by that?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a large subject, but I'll try to say something this in a condensed way about it. So yeah, like you say, that there is this aspect of awakening which is about clear seeing, and that's very important too. And sometimes the first awakening is discussed as this type of clear seeing, that you see that there's no actual substantial self, but that can still remain uh, kind of like a mental form of awakening, even it has that direct nature to it. So it's not a mind based. It's definitely genuine, but physically, viscerally, it can still very much feel like, but there's me. If something really threatens you, for example, emotionally or psychologically, if you contract into a defended mode, and you can kind of sense there's some sort of center in the experience, well, that's the me, that it's still there. Even though if you look into the experience and you see that, oh, but there's no one actually here, it doesn't matter. If that very visceral, energetic sense of self is still there, there's still further to go with the awakening, because and that's something that you can't really do anything about it other than just become aware. And there is this force about the awakening, about reality, that it can kind of pierce through that apparent solidity. It can kind of break through that, and it can just, it's almost like then this very well sense of center like that, which is very instinctual for us. It just feels like it shatters into millions of pieces. That's how it felt for me, and for me it felt very much at the heart level. I would say also at the gut level to a certain extent. There is some deep unwinding that happened there. But I would say the sense of that very, very core sense of self is very much somewhere at the heart level. So that's where you're going to feel this, like almost like someone would try pierce right through it. And the psyche, the center of the psyche is just like releases, but it's you don't actually break. Like what you really are, it's not harmed, it's not destroyed. That's actually then what shines. It just shines, and that's this incredible intimacy and immediacy, and that's what's going to reveal itself after that physical sense of self. Well, I often use the first shattering because for me it
Yeah.
very much felt like that, and I know it doesn't always happen in that way. It can also be a melting sensation, that it kind of dissolves, and just kind of vanishes, melts away.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be that quality to it as well. But I would say it really has that type of force, like earthquake or volcano. It's a very physically felt realization, and the beauty of it is that when it settles, and you're going to experience then the awakening in an also very like embodied or visceral manner, and it has almost like endless capacity then to deepen itself and continue exploring itself like that. So that release at the level of the heart and gut, that can continue. That's at least the way I experience it, because there can still be some really subtle points of holding somewhere that we don't really even have conscious access to. But when we continue doing the shadow work and trauma work, if we feel inclined to, then they can kind of start to release. And always when this energetic sense of self is released or liberated or dissolved or shattered, what happens is there's a lot of bliss. There's a lot of bliss, and there can be also like powerful altered state of consciousness, or this type of visionary experiences, or bardo states or deity states. That's because there's so much energy energy in that sense of self, like energetically speaking. So when that finally dissolves, it's almost like a psychedelic experience like that. But usually bliss, when that appears, it's a sign that some of this sense of self is dissolving, or it's being liberated. It disappears. So I like very much. I read from somewhere. I don't know if this is this is correct or not. That, but when Buddha had the awakening, he didn't say that I am liberated. He said it is liberated. And I think that's exactly how it feels like when this self, whatever it is, when it releases, when it self-liberates, when it dissolves, when it unwinds itself, that energy is being liberated. So when you have this happening for you, you wouldn't say it, I'm liberated, because there's no
No, it makes no sense
no
whatsoever.
to say that, and reality doesn't even care.
To me, this was one of the biggest surprises of this journey, was how visceral this process was,
Yeah.
and quite literally a biological. I would literally describe it, like, yes, there was like the what I call like this, the perceptional aspect of it, like the falling away
Mhm.
of certain, I don't know, beliefs, the way of perceiving reality, and so on and so forth. But I had no clue, Vivi, that like that me, that sense of me, is so in the body. So even if it dissolves here in that way, and you genuinely know there's no solid me or whatever, it still exists in the body, and and it has to dissolve, and it has to dissolve there. And I think, and I absolutely, which is like this other very, I'm a lover of simplicity, okay? Like anything complicated and my mind just goes like, okay, bye, girl. But like the simple like stages of awakening, as like awakening at the level of the mind, the heart, and the gut. It's so simple. I think it originated from Adyashanti, but I keep on going back to it when I talk to people, because I really think that that describes exactly that energetic or that physical process. And for me, like the heart opening was very visceral, but the gut, boy, was that something else. It's almost like the very, it's like the whole me was like contracted in the gut, like it existed in the gut as almost like a powerful energetic contraction. And so when that went, like I could literally
Yeah.
feel like a knot dissolving in in my
Yeah.
belly. And it was, yeah, it was something else. It was which again I can't really describe, but it was I would say the yeah, it had very existential quality to it, which is why it felt like dying in a way. And
Mhm.
um existential, it's like it's where the existential fear that's at the core of identity was sort of located, almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
that
not the
sense.
primal form of I. It's just that
Yeah,
tendency to grasp and contract like that. So yeah, it's
yeah,
so mysterious, because it's so hard to talk about. I think you talk about it really well, because there's just no words when you go to those
yeah.
places, and that happens. When I had that happen for the first time, and it wasn't then abiding, I had no words for it for several years. I did not tell to anyone about it. It was just so beyond anything the language can come up with to describing.
Mm.
but I yeah, the gut level of awakening is also it's so beautiful. I think it's just that's when that immense formless silence and stillness can really start to pour itself in a very visceral
Yeah.
manner through our system.
At least to me, this is what I mean by embodiment. Energetics side of it is it's a happening. It's
Mm.
almost like that life wants to just penetrate every single cell, not just like
Yeah,
be here or
yeah.
just here,
Yeah,
right?
it's almost like reality wants to just shake off like these very like physically carved conditionings of contracted sense of self, and then it just shakes them off, and it's yeah, yeah. I like the word embodiment a lot. I like the word visualization, even though that's not proper English, but I think that describes it pretty well. I think that
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Me
I
too.
don't remember who came up with it, maybe Mike Snyder, but visualization, embodiment, and for me, the Kundalini was a big part of this type of awakening that was very very physical like that, and I've learned to love that
Mhm.
nature of awakening that even it comes with intensity and kind of unpredictability and and so many surprises. It came also with so much beauty and creativity and death and resurrection and resilience and yeah, this capacity to like now, like for me now, just this capacity to be immersed in the senses and continue this unraveling and unbinding further, like ever further. It's so uh, ecstatic experience for me. Even it's not an experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so worth everything for me. Like so worth everything to be able to experience reality like this. Yeah.
Does this I know we're heading like toward the end, but like and it's like I'm opening another Pandora box, but like is this would you say that speaks to something that I actually am only beginning to really like learn a little bit more about the feminine and the masculine in this journey of awakening?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I wrote to you a little bit about that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's the feminine aspect. At least a big part of it is this, yeah, energetic and visceral nature of awakening. But it has a lot more to it. Um, I think it's also that power of compassion and love, but not in the way that we are conditioned to think what love is. But it's
Yeah.
exactly that power that when we have the deep realization, that it doesn't want to stay there in that safe position of the absolute, with
Yes.
that it's willingly kind of gives itself into the
Yes.
human, into the world. It's that act of self-giving, and yeah, I think that's the feminine aspect of the realization very much.